Fighting games are an incredible genre. In fact, I'd say they're one of the funnest games out there. But unfortunately, just like every other genre in the video game industry, the fighting game genre is not without its scandals. Because at the end of the day, these games are made by companies, and a company's main goal is to earn money. And that can be completely fine as long as the consumer is getting a good deal, but we all know what this video is about. Because a lot of the time, companies go way too far. They overreach straight into your pocket and are just stealing from you. Guess what? I'm currently playing this game on Boosteroid.com, the premier cloud gaming service that lets you play your favorite games at peak performance. It doesn't matter if you're playing on a 10-year-old laptop because Boosteroid guarantees you can still enjoy 1080p and 60 frames per second. And here's how to get started. Step 1, create an account and start your subscription. Then you can link your Steam account and start playing your favorite games, because Boosteroid has servers all over, including the United States. And guess what? You can even make money with Boosteroid by joining the referral program. Every time a player joins with your link, you earn around $7.30. So simply use my link down below and get started. Boosteroid is the premier cloud gaming service, and you can make money while using it. So without any further ado, let's discuss the greediest decisions in fighting game history. And let's start off with the classic example, Street Fighter Cross Tekken. And you're gonna see this name pop up several times in this video because this game had a ton of controversy. But we're gonna start off with a big one, the gem system. If you've played fighting games for any length of time, then you've likely heard the term pay to win over and over again, and usually it has to deal with DLC characters that are just too good. A great example recently was Leroy or even Fakumram, and even though those are both great examples of pay to win, I would argue the gem system in Street Fighter Cross Tekken is even more literal, because if you were willing to buy certain gems, you got a huge advantage over your opponent. But what even are these gems, right? Maybe you didn't even play Street Fighter Cross Tekken, so allow me to elaborate, because honestly, the gem system started off innocently enough. So here's how it worked. Before the match started, you could equip your fighter with certain gems, and these gems would power up your character once you met a certain requirement. Maybe you had to land a combo, or do a certain amount of damage, or land a certain amount of special moves. And once you met this requirement, your character got a buff, and this could be a damage buff, it could be a defense buff, all of the above. And what makes this idea interesting is that even in a mirror match, you could both be playing entirely different because you have different gems and you're trying to activate those buffs. However, here comes the issue. Even though most of these gems were free, there were some you could buy, and the ones you could buy were absurdly good. Just to give you a quick example, there was one gem that literally blocked for you. Yes, it would block for you. Cross-ups, what's that? They do nothing to me. As long as I have meter, I can block any cross-up you go for, any mix-up. Overheads and lows, what are those? I can block all of them as long as I put money on this defense gem. And that's just one example, but rest assured, there were plenty. And if you spent money on these gems, your character was just downright better than the opponent's character. Although from what I understand, Capcom eventually dialed this back and either nerfed the gems or got rid of the really ridiculous ones. I'm not entirely sure. But what I do know is this gem system hurt Street Fighter Cross Tekken like crazy, and it's a darn shame because the game had such good marketing and it was hyped up like crazy. But then when players finally got their hand on it, the gem system was just constantly messing things up because these gems activated like 3 times around. So yeah, there you have it. In short, the gem system is a black and white example of pay to win in fighting games. And next up, unfortunately, I have to toss Tekken under the bus, which is a shame, and it hurts me personally because I love the Tekken series. It's one of my favorite fighting games. However, recently for Tekken 7, they got greedy and actually charged the player to look at frame data. That's right, keep in mind every other fighting game does this for free, and in fact, even if the game doesn't offer it, you can just go online or download an app and get the frame data that way. However, even so, that didn't stop the developers from getting greedy, and if you wanted to have the frame data in the game in real time, you had to pay up. And that's a much bigger deal than you might realize, because frame data is the difference between winning and losing at a high level. In fact, I would argue anybody who wants to get above casual level has to study frame data. It's just a must. Or in other words, if you wanted to get good at Tekken 7, you had to pony up the dough and buy the frame data. And once again, every other fighting game did this for free, alright? And just gonna throw it out there, NetherRealm started this trend, so kudos to them. I do believe Injustice Gods Among Us was the first fighting game to offer frame data in the game itself. You didn't have to go online to some forum or go in the game and count the frames yourself. The game itself told you all the stats, and that's really cool. And ever since that game, a lot of fighting games have followed suit, whether it's Street Fighter or even Tekken, but the problem is Tekken makes you pay. And that is something that cannot be tolerated going forward. Do not let this happen again if you're a player. Make sure to raise a stink online and get very annoyed if any fighting game developer ever tries this again. Next up, we have Mortal Kombat. Alright, I love this series to death, and I think as far as modern fighting games go, the Mortal Kombat team makes some of the best, but unfortunately, they got greedy in Mortal Kombat 11. Because when you boot up the game, there is an option to buy Frost, and she is not a DLC character. Keep that in mind. Literally everybody who buys the game can get Frost for free if they just play the story mode. And you don't even have to beat the story mode, you just have to get to chapter 4 or something like that, which is not very far. What's that? You can play story mode to unlock her? Who told you that? Who told you that? Buy the money now. Don't waste your time in story mode. Buy her right now. Give us money. You already bought the game, but give us money right away for this free character. Yeah, that's really greedy. I can't let this one slide. I love NetherRealm, I love Ed Boon, and I love the Mortal Kombat series, but this one I'm not gonna let slide. Once again, NetherRealm, I love you. Ed Boon, I love you. Mortal Kombat, I love you. Do not get it twisted, alright? I do love the series and the team and the creator. Alright, but now it's time to talk about Street Fighter Cross Tekken again. I told you earlier they would show up more than one time in this video. Literally every fighting game to come out in the past 10 years has had a DLC, which means the game comes out, and then a few months later the team says, hey, we made some new characters, do you want to download them for a bit of extra money? To which most players say yeah, because we want to play new characters, and it's reasonably understood that the team worked on these characters after the game got released. They weren't just already there on the disc. Right? Nope, in Street Fighter Cross Tekken's case, they were absolutely already on the disc, which meant you already bought all of them. But wait, Underdog, then what am I paying for when I buy them online? I'll tell you what you're paying for. You're paying for a digital key that unlocks the characters that are already on your disc. Yeah, that's right. You just spent around $20 on a digital unlock. And I want to drive home why this is so unacceptable. DLC is only okay when it's made after the game has been released, because otherwise, what are you paying for? The idea behind buying any DLC is you're paying the team for its efforts, but if you already bought the game and they already worked on all the stuff beforehand, then you're just paying them again for something they already made. Or in other words, it would be like buying a house, but then one of the doors is locked and the guy says, oh, that room cost extra. And you're like, what? But I already bought the house. And it's implied when I bought the house that I get access to all of the rooms. But the seller says, nope, 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 I charge extra for that room and I have the key right here. So if you want that room, you have to buy my key. That is essentially what happened with Street Fighter Cross Tekken, to give you a decent metaphor. Now, thankfully, the good news is if you knew how to mod or jailbreak a disc, then you got all these extra characters for free, which is one of the greatest examples of justice that I can think of. What's that? You want to charge me extra for something I already own? Nope, watch this, boom, now I have them. I paid for them already. I paid for the disc and now I get to have my characters. Now, thankfully, Capcom has never tried anything like this ever since, so that's one silver lining, but unfortunately, there is one game that did the exact same thing, and its name is BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle. I won't lie to you, I loved this game a lot because it had the characters from Ruby, and one of my best friends from college actually works on that series. And as a result, I bought that game first thing and made a guide for all of the Ruby characters and immediately fell in love with Yang. She's still fun to play to this very day. However, regardless of how much fun I had with that game during the first month of playing, that doesn't take away from the fact that they pulled the exact same scummy practice as Capcom in Street Fighter Cross Tekken. There was a bunch of DLC characters you could pay for, but guess what? They're already on the disc, which means you're buying the disc a second time. You're not paying for efforts that were done after the game's release. You're not paying for all the employees to make new stuff. No, you're paying for a key and that's it. You already bought the house, but if you want access to the pool, you gotta pay a little bit more money, alright? It's in your own backyard, but spend more money on it. Yeah, it's mad annoying, but thankfully, I guess the one silver lining is this game didn't last very long. It fell off the map pretty quickly afterwards, despite all the really cool DLC characters. I would have loved to play them, but I'm not gonna pay extra for that. And now finally, for our final example, we have Capcom's old school practice of selling you an entirely new game at full price when all it does is add a few new characters and a balance adjustment. That's right, for games like Street Fighter 4 and any game prior to that, there was no such thing as a combat pack or a free update. If you wanted that stuff, you had to buy a whole new game. And they didn't do this just once or twice, they did this 3 times for Street Fighter 4. You had the regular Street Fighter 4, and then you had Super Street Fighter 4, which had some new characters and a balance update to make the game a bit more fair. And then you had Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition, once again buy a whole new game for just new characters and a balance update. And then finally, we had Ultra Street Fighter 4, which had a balance update and added new characters, but get this, all the new characters were already in Street Fighter Cross Tekken, and they played almost identical too, so it's very likely they were copy and pasted from Street Fighter Cross Tekken into Street Fighter 4 with some tiny adjustments here and there. And yet, even so, Capcom said buy a whole nother game again, although I think this time they did finally allow a downloadable update. But keep in mind, it was not possible to buy the characters separately. You had to buy the whole thing or just not play any of these new characters. characters. Oh, and did I also mention that for a long time it was impossible to play with your friends who did buy Ultra Street Fighter 4? So if I had Arcade Edition and my friend had Ultra, we just couldn't play together because I needed the balance update and I needed the new characters, but I couldn't do that unless I pointed up the dough. So yeah, that was mad annoying, but oddly enough, it was kind of accepted at the time because keep in mind, Capcom had been doing this since Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition, and so on and so forth. However, thankfully, this trend has finally stopped. Now Capcom does let you buy the characters separately. In fact, you can actually get them for free. All you have to do is grind the game a little bit, which isn't that big of a deal honestly, because a lot of people buy the game to play it anyway. So for example, if you beat story mode in Street Fighter 5, I'm pretty sure you just got a free character guaranteed from the fight money. And then if you went back and beat story mode on hard, you could easily get a second DLC character for free, once again with the game's in-game currency. And I think that's just awesome. If every developer could do that going forward, that would be amazing. I don't see it happening because at the end of the day, companies are always going to be a bit greedy. But hey, baby steps. Thanks for watching everyone, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please smash that like button down below. And then keep that combo going by subscribing and ringing that bell. That way you never miss a future video. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.